Hey all, John here, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be reviewing my UniFi network setup. There are a few hardware changes. I bought a new 7050 I'm going to be using just to add on top of the existing 7050 I have right now. So we're going to talk about XCP-ng, we're going to look at UniFi. I have some new firewall rules, and VLANs are finally set up. Mostly to the way I want them, and we're just going to review that. We'll also cover the teleport VPN that I use, and I may even talk about the shortcuts, the Apple Shortcuts app, and how I have that automatically connecting to my home lab. So now I'm just going to move over to the rack and I will show you how it looks on my iPhone. Let's start off with talking about these first. So these are the micro pieces I have sitting around. I ordered the 7050 on top. I'm just going to set up a Core i5, probably going to take it up to 32 gigs of RAM or possibly 48. The other 7050 has 48 in it right now, so a 32 gig and a 16 gig DIMM. Because it's hard to find two 32 gig DDR4 DIMMs in laptop spec. But basically, I'm going to be running the new version of XCP-ng I heard is coming out with a hyper-converged, hyper-converged solution. So basically, you have your storage, your VM, and basically all the software-defined networking all in one system without needing external storage. So I think this would be similar to Nutanix. But anyways, I want to do some beta testing with that, so I'm just going to set up that later. Most of the rack is basically unchanged with the U6 Flex Mini. I have a an Eve motion sensor up there, Hue Light bridge, which I recently added back into the array. 7050 is still sitting there running XCP-ng as it always has been. I have a printer down here. Nothing really going on with that. The Cisco switches are just inactive. The fun little project I added because I was getting annoyed how loud the R740 is that I added this Eve smart plug. So this actually turns on every day at 4 a.m. and turns off at around 5:30 p.m. So I have the NAS, the R740 that is underneath this, set up to basically power on after power loss. So if when this kicks on at 4 a.m., it turns on, TrueNAS comes up, and then I have a cron job set up to basically shut down the R740 at I think 4 p.m. and it gives it about an hour and a half to shut down before it cuts the power. So of course I lose iDRAC when power is off, but I can still go into HomeKit and turn them back on if I really do need it. And yeah, now we're gonna move over to the desktop and I will show you how all of this looks from the UI perspective. Alright, so welcome to my iPad. I'm actually going to be doing this on mobile data just to simulate me being inside the house. So the first thing I want to do is connect to the VPN. So I'm going to just turn that on there. This is just running through the UniFi teleport. This helps because I don't have a public IP address, so just wait for that to connect to the UDM. And as we can see, it is there. So first thing I'm going to hit, obviously, the UDM. There we go. Log in using Strongbox, which is just KeyPass on iOS. Sign in there and don't remember my creds. So as you can see, I have the Network and Protect app installed. Protect is for security cameras, and Protect Network obviously is to control the network. So we're going to hit the network first. So we're not going to be touching UniFi Protect today. So this is my UniFi dashboard of my UDM Pro. As you can see, I obviously have a NATed IP address. Basically, I'm behind another firewall that's giving me a private IP address. I do not have a public IP address, but yet I'm still able to VPN directly into this. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like on my end again. So as you can see, I am directly connected to the UDM right there. And I'm on LTE. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you my network map. So as you can see, this is my cool UniFi dashboard, a lot nicer than the Open Sense that I was running a few months prior. So let's go over that. So let's see. This is my basically my UniFi network map of what it looks like. So I kind of like looking at this, especially when I turn on, let's say, the internet traffic, just to see where the internet is going to at certain places. So as you can see, my MacBook is downloading stuff. My Sonos lamp is probably playing my alarm clocks for the night, telling me to go to sleep. Looks like Pi-hole may have been getting something, but anyways, I am on an iPad, so this map is going to be a bit buggy, especially once I start flipping this around. But as you can see where traffic is going with that thick blue line. We're going to go into my UniFi devices, just going to show you what that looks like. So, of course, I set up a management VLAN, so that's why you see the IP address is a little bit different on some of these. But I have the USW16 PoE switch, the Flex Mini that connects into the 7050, and the Hue light switch I have, the U6 Lite. I also have a U6 Plus, but U6 Lite is installed for now. GeForce Instant Security Camera. This runs on Wi-Fi. This is really nice for, let's say, when I go out of the house and I want to see if anyone is, like I say, how do I say this? Like maintenance comes in. I want to see what they're doing. That's kind of cool to see. And then, of course, the UDM right here. Now, the client list, this is basically just like the network map, but it's a list of everything that's connected. So I'm going to sort this by IP address. Looks like it already is. And you can see I have a couple different networks running. So I have my management VLAN, which has my iDRAC, my 7050, basically the SSH terminal, XOA, which is also in the same VLAN. XOA is basically the orchestrator or the management VM of this that runs on top of XCP-ng, just so I can manage this and another site that's connected over at the site-to-site VPN. TrueNAS Scale is online, as you can see with that Eve light switch. So when I go in here, I can see that it's actually online right there. NextCloud, I've been testing. Haven't really found a real use for it. I thought about moving photos into that, but I really like Image. It's been working really good for me. Image, I just recently migrated back from TrueNAS Scale's KVM platform back on top of the Citrix hypervisor, just so I don't have to run my R740 at night or during the day all the time just to back up my photos. So that's online. Haven't had any real performance issues there. This is actually just one VM with two network adapters. I should have set up two separate VMs instead of just running one VM with two network adapters, just so there's actually some real redundancy. But of course, this is just a home network. If I do have a DNS outage, I can just route it straight to the WAN and go out to Quad 9 and Cloudflare, but I'll show you that later in this video. Citrix VM, this is just a web browser on Debian that makes it look like I'm online. So when people send me messages on my marketing platform, it looks like I'm online. I'll respond to them faster, which I do. I reply within 2 minutes, so I'm doing pretty good there. My MacBook, this is on 10 gigabit. I actually have this set up with jumbo packets. Same with this as well. I'll dive into that and switch exclusions. The S23 Ultra is online downstairs. MacBook is also available on Wi-Fi. The Hue switch, as you can see, it's on a different VLAN with no internet access. Something that made me kind of get away from the Hue is the fact that it kind of needs that internet connectivity to work. So you kind of have to plug it in on a wired network with internet access, activate it with your Philips Hue account, connect it to HomeKit, and then kill its internet connection. I'm still trying to figure this out. I probably need to just allow traffic to go from basically my my IoT public to my IoT offline, but I don't want to do that, so I'm probably just going to move this to the untagged VLAN, because guests are now really airplaying to my AirPods since I have another bathroom speaker available right here. But that's another complication. And then my OneNote VM, that's also on the IoT offline network. This doesn't have any internet access. It's just so I can access my NAS. Basically just local resources. Doesn't need any internet connectivity or any updates or anything like that. Samsung TV, that's just on IoT public, no internal resources. It just goes straight out to the internet and is available to guests and defaults for AirPlay traffic with multicast. The bathroom, HomePod Mini, just talked about that, and of course my guest network last, with the PlayStation 5 also being on that network. As a matter of fact, I'm probably just going to move the bathroom HomePod Mini over to my untagged VLAN, so I'll just let that move back over, just so it can talk to my Hue bridge. And yeah, now we're going to move over to ports. So with these, I actually do play around with this quite a bit. So I have, of course, those are all my active ports right now. I have 10 gigabit enabled for my MacBook and TrueNAS scale. So you can see it's negotiating at 10 gig. I will go into switch exclusions just to show you what that looks like, and of course I have all the ports disabled because I'm just not using them. So I just disabled them. I just figured I might as well disable those. It's not, no one's really coming in and plugging random stuff into my house, but might as well. Same thing on the USW 16. I actually have the TrueNAS set up on two NICs, so I have one on the management VLAN and then another one which is on the UDM that is on the untagged. I plan to just have the management platform just be accessible on my management VLAN and not also on my untagged. In the process of figuring that out, and then of course for visitors, I have port 7 available for just the guest network, which is on a completely different subnet, obviously, as VLANs are. Yeah, and then of course with the USW 16, the USW the Flex Mini, which is basically the mini switch. This connects into the Hue, which this obviously only negotiates at 100 meg. It doesn't need any gigabit connectivity. That's just how it is. And of course, I have the 7050 connected into this, and this of course needs access to all the VLANs, as I have virtual machines that are on different VLANs. For radios, I actually have my 2.4 gigahertz radio reduced because I just don't have anything on that. And then it drops off any traffic below a certain signal level. And of course, the 5 gigahertz radio is on its max setting, as I want all the traffic going there. Now, for networks, of course, since I have multiple VLANs, I actually have one SSID set up with different basically passwords that hit different VLANs. So basically it's one big network, but depending on the password you use, it'll throw you onto a different VLAN. So that's there. And then as you can see, these are my VLANs with the different subnet masks depending on how many devices I need on that network. So that's just how many devices I have sitting there. Of course, I have my private IP address, and below this I actually have my site-to-site VPN with a public IP address, which I do not want to show you, so I'm not going to scroll down any further than this. My statistics, just basically this just shows you my internet traffic and where it's going. Not really much to talk about there. That's all devices. System log, that all looks good. I don't really have anything going on with security detections because I don't have anything being blocked. There was a time when if I turned notify and block on for my IDS and IPS, it would actually start to trigger based on my VPN traffic going in. So I turned that off to just notify and nothing else. As you can see, we're going back to the VLANs, but now we're going to look at switch exclusion and multicast. So since I have an IoT public VLAN and guest and then untagged, I have basically all my AirPlay devices on IoT public, and I need those to be accessible on guest and also to be accessible on my untagged, basically my LAN traffic. So I have multicast going between these three. This is probably not good practice because again, AirPlay it should just be on the public network. But of course, I want to be able to access this on my internal network and on the outside, but also not have any traffic go the other way. So I'll show you my VLAN rules in just a moment. And as you can see, I have the UDM on switch exclusion. So that means basically all these settings will not apply to the rest of the switches that are on the network. So I don't want the entire network having access to 9,000 packet jumbo frames, because nothing else except for my MacBook and my my MacBook and my TrueNAS scales are need jumbo package for the full 10 gigabit throughput. So everything else is running normally, and then when you go back up here to the UDM, you'll see that this is actually set up to run jumbo frames. Same thing with TrueNAS scale. I have actually, if I go up here, this might be the wrong way. Let me go. Actually, I don't even need to show you that because the jumbo frames are set up on the UDM, not on the port level. So yeah, thinking too far ahead here, but it's set up on the UDM itself, so it's not by the port. And as you can see, this is on this global frame settings, on the global switch settings. So yeah, let me just go back here so I can stop trying to run so far ahead of myself. But yeah, that's been working good so far because again, only 2 devices on the network need jumbo frames, not the entire network. So I've just been running it like that for the past few months, and I haven't had any issues. Internet connectivity, again, I'm behind the NATs, so nothing really to show you there. I have site-to-site VPN set up through site-to-site VPN setup through the UniFi Site Magic on the UniFi Cloud. So that's been working really great. I wish I had a terminal I can use just so I can show you what it looks like when I ping a different network whatsoever. It just works. I don't really have to worry about it, but it's running on top of WireGuard, not this IPsec that you're seeing here. As you can see, it's telling me I'm behind a net. I can't open any ports, but let me show you my firewall rules. These are actually kind of funny. But first, we're going to look at the ad blocking on the UDM. So the UDM, it's very similar to Pi-hole, but not really, because with Pi-hole, I can actually see the data. With the UDM, it's not really the same. So I have ad blocking enabled on untagged. So if it's not going through Pi-hole, if it hits basically just the UDM for through the DHCP server, let's say Pi-hole is down, I have the 10.100.1.1 address set up as a failover. It'll hit the ad blocker and then go out using Quad9 and Cloudflare. That has not had any issues, so that's why I'm like, I don't need two VMs set up just for DNS resolving. It just works. If it dies, it'll go back to the standard WAN using these DNS servers that I have set up. And as you can see, I have the IDS on, but it's not blocking anything, just notifies me. So that's been beautiful. Now for traffic rules, now we've been talking about that for a while. My rules are kind of weird right now, but I feel like this just works for the time being for my environment. So I have the internet blocked on several devices that are on my management VLAN and some other stuff. So my Samsung TV, another camera that is here that's inactive, and IoT offline. Those just don't need internet access. So that rule works for me. And then also my guest network, I do not need that connecting to my secured VLANs. So let's say my untags, my management and IoT offline, those don't need access to, those don't should not be communicating with guests either way. So that just blocks it both directions. It just works. Again, there's a different way to set this up. So I think if you go into networks, you can actually just isolate this VLAN as a guest network. But again, since I have the AirPlay devices that I want to be able to communicate with this, it's going to block that. And also throws up this really nasty guest portal, which I just don't want my guests to see. It's just a few people I know, so they don't really need to see that I have a hotspot portal set up for them. I just want them to think it's part of my general network with basically no difference whatsoever in the fact they can't see my local resources. So guests blocking to secured networks, it just drops the traffic. IoT offline cannot talk to other networks. So anything from IoT offline cannot talk to IoT public, which has internet access, guests, or management, because let's be honest, the Hue switch does not need to talk to my HydraC or to the guests or to AirPlay. It just does not make sense. So that's going both directions. And then the next rule, IoT public does not need to talk to other secure networks. So IoT public is basically that AirPlay VLAN. That AirPlay does not need to talk to management and does not need to talk to IoT offline. So even though I have this kind of overlaps, it just blocks it again, even though this rule will probably take care of it. And then IoT public does not need access to guests. So anything on the IoT public network, so anything on the AirPlay network, it can't send traffic out to guests or untagged, but the other way around is allowed. So and think of this, anything that's on this list is automatically allowed. I wish I could block all and then manually allow certain things, but that's just the way it is. It just allows everything. On OpenSense, it actually blocks everything first, and then you have to allow the rules. Actually, no, that's a lie. It's the other way around. It's allow all and then block. But I think there's a way to change that. I just never was able to figure that out. So when I think I had a lot of problems blocking certain VLANs from hitting the internet, but we're not going to talk about OpenSense because I'm running UniFi now. It's been a few months. So again, IoT public cannot talk to management or IoT offline when it's trying to communicate to it, but the other way around is okay. And then I have another one set up for IoT public to guest and default. I think it was just talking about this. So this is both directions. This is just one way. But again, it's not going to be able to talk to manage. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so traffic going out is not going to work, but traffic the other way is fine. And then I have a speed limiter set up on the WAN. This just limits the upload and download speeds on that AirPlay VLAN. And then, of course, I want XOA to be able to talk to the internet just so it can update the host and update the other network that's connected over Site Magic. So I have this allowance rule just for XOA. This is kind of a breach. I should probably just have this on untagged, but I want to leave it on that management VLAN. There was a point when I'm on the VPN and I would try to hit this XOA. It would basically get blocked because I'm basically on WAN for the VPN, and I didn't want to move it off the VLAN. So yeah, I probably should move this somewhere else, but it is what it is. This is a home lab environment. This is not too critical. The routing, I don't have anything to talk about here. I know OSPF is running through the SiteMagic VPN. It just uses that specific function, so I don't have anything to talk about there. Profiles, I don't really touch these. And then if we look at system, this is just your backups and updates. I have that set to automatically run on here, so it automatically updates all my devices at 3 a.m. So just works. And yeah, of course, that you cannot see that. So let's start hitting some of my services. So I'm going to show you what some of these services look like. We're not going to look at the iDRAC because everyone knows what an iDRAC looked like, and I actually made a video about iDRAC a few months prior when I was setting up my first server. So we're going to hit XOA, we're going to hit my TrueNAS scale, and then I'll show you all the VMs that are running inside of XCP-ng. We're not going to touch my Pi-hole server because I just don't log into it for the most part. It works, but I think I've given you guys a tour of that before. Nothing else on here that has a web UI that I need to show you. So we're going to get started with basically XOA. So we're going to hit that first. So that is, looks like it is at 10.100.0.3. So we're going to get there now. We're not touching image as well because again I've given you guys a tour of that. So 10.100.0.4 is actually the address, not 3. So we're gonna go straight there. We already logged in since we're in here before. So as you can see, the DNS server is running with the addresses there. So this has 2 NICs, and because of course I have some snapshots, some backups on the TrueNAS scale. Debian, again, this is just the Thumbtack VM. I don't have the browser open, but it just stays on, doesn't time out, nothing like that. Then image, this is just running on Ubuntu. That's an LTS release. I recently moved this back over from TrueNAS scale back onto the 7050 just because I went running 24/7 without the loud server running at night. So it's been working great. I snapshotted it a couple times, so if I do break the database, I think it uses Postgres. Yeah, just so I'm able to roll back whenever I'm doing an update, snapshot, and then upgrade. So that's been running great. I've given you guys a tour of image in a previous video. It is basically the same. Basically, this is just self-hosting Google Photos for your network. And of course, since I have the site-to-site VPN, the family is able to access this as well for any shared albums I have set up. Debian, this is running on their side. This is just a file server on OMV that backs up to TrueNAS scale every once in a while, so nothing to talk about there. NextCloud, this is just a beta test environment. We're also running on Ubuntu. This is actually running as a snap package for me, not on Docker like images. So far, it's been okay. I think I could probably show you guys the splash screen, but that's really about it. And then OneNote, this is on the IoT offline network. So this is, I think the firewall is actually blocking this right now, but basically this connects to the NAS and then basically caches all this on that Windows PC just so I can journal. I usually connect to this via RDP, not through the Zen Orchestra UI. So yeah, and of course last we have the XOA VM sitting at the bottom. This is basically the orchestrator. This entire UI you're seeing here is basically running all on top of XOA. I also have XO Lite set up as well, but honestly I don't use it because again I like the additional features that I can get in XOA, so I just run it that way. I'm trying to think what other UI was I going to show you. Yeah, before I forget, I'm going to show you Apple's shortcuts. So I actually have this set up, so whenever I go to work, it basically, I have this on my phone as well. But whenever I get to work, I have it set up to automatically silence my iPad and then also connect to my VPN when it sees a certain IP address. So when it sees a certain Wi-Fi network, I lied. So it waits 30 seconds and it connects to the UniFi Site Magic. bad has been perfect for me personally. But now that since I again I'm on LTE now and the signal is good because they upgraded the towers in the area, I don't really use this anymore. But yeah, I just want to throw that in before I forget. And yeah, I think I said I was going to show you the, what is it, the NextCloud instance, but honestly it's just a login screen. There's really nothing going on in there. Let me see, what is the address for that on here? I have not upgraded this to the enterprise version of XOA just yet. I probably should do that. Let me hop back over to 10.100.1.1 so I can see what the IP address is for XOA. Not XOA, NextCloud. Yeah, 10.100.1.7. That's 100.1.7. So as you can see, NextCloud is running. It's set up. I've customized it, but I don't want to log into it because, again, it's not really complete. Now we're going to hit my TrueNAS server, and I'm going to show you the weird cron job I have set up. So we're going to log into this. I'm using Strongbox, which is just KeyPass again. So we're going to log into that. So now we're logged in. As you can see, battery's running low. 64 gigs of RAM. We have a couple different data sets. Data is running low. So as you can see, I have a couple different storage arrays set up. So we have the 870 EVOs. Those are just two 1 terabyte SATA drives. I just started using those, so those are fairly long for the disk usage, but they run great. My Exos drives, this is just four Seagate Exos drives, 14 terabyte drives. One of them is not in the array right now, at least virtually, because I need to format it a certain type of way. But as you can see, I'm running low on these, so I'm probably going to be upgrading those, adding some more drives and moving some of the data sets off to lower this, because this low capacity warning is not going to get any better. No drive failures on any of these. I have trim enabled on the SSDs. And lastly, we have the unencrypted NVMe. These are the 980 Pros. These are basically where I write all my video files to. Data sets, this is still the same as last time. I'm going to show you how I do permissions briefly. So these are my data sets. So as you can see, for YouTube media, I have, let me scroll down. I'm on an iPad, so it gets really weird with how I scroll. So as you can see, I have root has access to it, it's just how it is. Group, so I have this set up as full control on the ACL Quentin Photos. So this includes my iPad and my MacBook. The iPhone is not on here, just so I can basically modify anything in here. And then I have a read-only group for my dad. He never accesses this NAS anyway, but I just let him see it, just so he sees what I'm doing if he's curious. Shares, I have this sharing on basically Samba and NFS. NFS is just for the XCP-ng cluster, just so I'm able to back up and also install ISO images. I'm going to skip over data protection because I have that set up. Don't need you guys seeing how things are being uploaded to the cloud and downloaded, stuff like that. This again is set up on Jumbo package with the UDM, so you can see 9000. Everything is statically mapped on here, no DHCP. I probably need to find a really nice name for this R740, but I just haven't done it yet. Again, for TrueNAS, I don't have it connected to a directory server, so it's just running local users and groups. No AD or LDAP on here. Virtualization has been killed on TrueNAS because I have moved the image VM back to where it used to be on the 7050, and it's running honestly better since it can always be online. Don't have to worry about that turning on. I'm not running any of the TrueCharts apps just because I don't need to, but now TrueNAS scale Dragonfish, as you can see I'm running, has, let's let that load. Dragonfish now has a built-in net data plugin. I can't open that on his iPad just because far it gets limited, but it has that built in, so I don't really need any other apps installed. I have not been using SyncThing recently. I'll probably make a video updating on that. And then of course we're going to get into the cron job that shuts down the machine every day at 4 p.m. So let's see, let's dive in there. So 4 p.m. it runs this, just shuts it down using I think the middleware. I could just do sudo shutdown and then now or something. That's the wrong agreement. That's the wrong argument, but you get the idea. I could run it that way, but from what I see on the forums, you should shut it down through the middleware. So that's what this is, and that works fairly effectively. Now, I'm going to show you what this looks like on the home app. So if we go in here, let me open this back up. On the home app, it's not showing up right away, so I'm just going to search that way. So the Apple HomeKit app,
as we can see here. Let's see that the HomePod is probably coming back online here. So this is the Hue switch, not the sorry, the Eve smart switch. If I go into my settings, I can see that I have it set up again to shut off at 5:30 on weekdays. So it just turns it off. And then I have another one set up to turn it on at 6 a.m. on the weekdays. Just basically so I can sleep at night, and when I get home, it shuts off. This gives TrueNAS gives it the Hue switch gives TrueNAS about an hour and a half to shut down before it kills the power on it. So I think that's honestly great. But yeah, that's basically everything in this video. I don't really have anything else to show you about my infrastructure. So I'm just going to shut down my TrueNAS server so I can actually go back down to my apartment after we hear the loud fans that are running. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next videos that I have upcoming.